David Cameron held a summit this week to discuss racism in football. The Prime Minister's vowed to stop the sport being dragged back into what he calls the bad old days of the past. Culture Secretary, and I have to say this very carefully, Jeremy Hunt, was at the meeting. He says there's a lot less racism in the game now, but there's always room for improvement.
It's one of those things you can never be complacent, and we've had these couple of incidents, and you look at some of the things that are happening on Twitter, for example, at the moment, which is obviously something you didn't have to deal with 20 years ago, and it is still a problem.
Well, joining me now to discuss it is Clarke Carlisle, who, apart from being an all-round sportsman and talker, I was on Question Time with him one time and he did a great job, plays for Northampton Town, but in his capacity as chairman of the Professional Footballers Association, my favourite trade union, led by my favourite union leader, Gordon Taylor, is intimately involved in this question. So thanks, Clarke, very much for joining us. How did you think the summit went?
Good evening, George, and thank you very much for talking to me tonight. I thought the summit was extremely informative. I thought it went really well. This is something that we've been campaigning for many years now, because it gave all the stakeholders within the game an opportunity to sit around a table with equal placing with all the major governing bodies of the sport and actually get their points across and voice their concerns on an issue that affects everyone involved in our national game. And with the backing of the government, then it gives us a point of recourse. We can call back on this time and say, you said that there was going to be action stemming from this meeting, so where is that action?
Well, the Prime Minister set quite a tight timetable for the football authorities to report, hasn't he, between 1 month and 3 months, so he seems to be treating it as a matter of urgency.
Most definitely, and that's the exciting thing, because within our industry and within society, we've had campaigns going for 2 and 3 decades now. People have talked, we've had summit after summit, meeting after meeting, but we're tired of the same old rhetoric, you know. It's about time we saw some action and some definitive and affirmative action on a topic as important to the general society as discrimination.
Yeah, I mean, I've been complimenting the PFA and even the FA, actually, on the efforts that they've made to kick racism out of football. And of course, by comparison with some other countries, not far distant from here, even recently in Spain, and in Portugal, we have done well. And yet, we saw recently, in one case that we can't talk about because there are court proceedings pending, it's not that far from the surface even here.
Most definitely. You know, we do pride ourselves on the fact that we're a leading light, you know, especially amongst nations. The standards of attitudes and behaviours when it comes to matters of discrimination, I think we are definitely ahead of the curve in this country. But when people talk and judge and castigate football, they set football aside as an entity in itself, when every professional footballer has come from his local community and a member of general society. So, you know, it's only because of the high-profile nature of the job that these opinions that are brought forward are brought to the fore. They're not representative of football, they're representative of our communities, and that's where the battle has to be taken. So, as long as discrimination
as long as it exists in society,
then it will exist in football, but we can be the leading light.
You'd think, though, that highly paid professionals would be able to keep a lid on any prejudice they do have, if only for the sake of their own checks. But let me move on to an issue that hasn't been as well ventilated, and that's the question of homophobia in football. We had this ridiculous campaign, didn't we, amongst many fans against Graham Lasso, who was at the summit, who was a fantastic footballer for many years, an international player. He was targeted as being gay when he isn't gay, not that it would matter either way. It seems on the basis that he read The Guardian.
It's utterly ludicrous, and I think it boils down to the base level perception and language use. You know, it's it's created, it's used as a derogatory term, homosexuality, as though it reflects on a person's worth. Until we address this perception of homosexuality as any kind of lesser being than a heterosexual person, then these attitudes won't go away. And also the base level language use, you will frequently hear in playgrounds, in workplaces, up and down the country, oh, you gay this, or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas something was, oh, you black this, or oh, you yellow or Jewish that, there'd be a furore. So we need to educate people and attack this base level language use so that it's intolerable, because it should not be acceptable. And when we do that, that's when we'll be able to create an environment where people feel comfortable expressing their sexuality, whether it's straight, gay or anything in between.
Clarke Carlisle, thanks very much for joining us on The Week.
Thank you.